A war
Hello!
is coming.
Oh my god, there are commercials. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 29th ever episode of Press A2 Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hujik, and with me today is Brandon Williams.
Yep, I'm here.
Taylor Severn.
Ahoy, ahoy.
And Scott McPherson.
I'm here as well.
And today we're going to be talking about Overwat, or not Overwatch.
Jacob.
BioShock. We're going to be talking
Jacob.
about BioShock. Listen.
Literally the worst.
It's been a long 2 weeks. It's been a while since we all got together. There was a couple emergencies and such that had to be taken care of. But we're back. We're going to be talking about BioShock. As long as I don't start sleeping and mumble about the game that has been taking over my life slowly.
We spent the last half hour talking about how we're going to talk about BioShock and not Overwatch, and yet still.
First thing that comes out of his mouth, Overwatch.
You're all welcome. But before we get into BioShock, how have you guys been? Like I said, it's been a while. Anything new and exciting in your lives? Brandon, now you're buying a bike?
Yes.
Took the news right out of his
Bike
mouth.
slash dual sport bike. Super excited. But other than that, no, nothing new.
Oh,
Scott lost all his hair. We don't know what happened to it. There's still
Yeah,
a search and bounty out for it, but
there's a reward.
yeah. I mean, hope is fading fast, but maybe we'll still find it.
That's about it.
And Taylor is still trapped in a pile of toys, so...
How does his voice come through so clearly? I wonder sometimes.
How does he even
The
have a
mic's
voice?
also buried with me.
How does he have
Oh,
a voice?
Very with
It's just...
inconvenience.
It's just one of
It
those
sounds
things
like a
we'll
very
never
efficient
understand.
setup you have there.
I was moving my mic into my mic collection when it all collapsed on me.
Okay, gotcha.
Which brought down the toy collection, and also brought down the graphic or the holographic Pokemon cards collection. So before we begin, if any of you want to check to make sure the stream is good, that'd be great. So yeah, BioShock. Oh, as for myself, I discovered that I have mild carpal tunnel. Take care of your wrists, guys, because
Not
if
playing
you don't,
computer games.
it'll suck. But yes.
No more Overwatch for Jacob.
Oh, fuck. No, I have to play more Overwatch. It just means I have to wear a splint at night. Not the worst thing. It could have been a lot worse. Could have been surgery. But yes, BioShock. It's a game from 2K is the publisher, and the developer is... Great, I thought someone would know. It's a very well-known developer if someone wants to look it up and tell me.
Sorry, I was looking at the thing because you cut out for me and I was confused and scared and alone.
Oh no! But yes, it's there's 3 games in this series: BioShock 1, BioShock 2. I don't know if it has an epitaph, and a BioShock 3, or as it was more.
No, it's just BioShock.
Infinite.
BioShock 2, a pile of shit. That's what it's called.
Pretty much.
And BioShock Infinite as the 3rd game.
Less
So
a
what
pile of
is
shit.
your guys' experience with BioShock?
Pretty much none.
There you go.
Great. All right.
Next.
Podcast
Moving on.
over. Scott, what about you?
I have played all 3 games.
Wow. Did you start with the second one?
No.
Breaking the streak.
No, I started with the first one, and then I played Infinite, and then I played 2, and I didn't finish 2.
You're still being weird about it. So
I got about. Well, I didn't hear very good things about 2, and like Infinite looked really good when it came out because I started late. Like I didn't start it when it came out.
yeah.
Kind of got into them late. Probably like 3 or 4 years ago, is when I started playing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so like all of them are already out, so I just played that one and then played Infinite because it looked really cool and I heard good things, and then I played 2 because I heard less good things and I did not enjoy it. Just a pile of doo-doo.
Yeah, that's kind of the general consensus.
But I have played through Infinite and the first one multiple times.
Awesome.
Hey.
Yeah, this might turn
So
into a
you're
bit of the Press Scott podcast.
Here's mate.
Because Scott has the most experience with the games. But Taylor,
Yeah.
what about you?
I haven't
What's your
had one for a
experience?
while.
I have played only a tiny itty bitty portion of the first BioShock game.
Were you scared?
Yeah. It was in my phase where I was scared of my own shadow,
Okay.
and so that game was very scary.
Probably a bad idea, yeah.
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 Throws you for a loop, that's for sure.
I didn't get very far.
No.
As for myself, I haven't played any of the BioShocks. I have watched a little bit of playthroughs. I've watched a little bit of coverage on all of them because they're pretty well respected games. But I have played their spiritual prequels, or at least the games that kind of spawned them, which was System Shock and System Shock 2, which was the one I played. And that game was kind of revolutionary at the time. I played it late. I came into it well after it had released, just to kind of, because I knew that it was a very, very interesting story and atmosphere and stuff. And from what I can tell, that's kind of carried on through the BioShock games. They're really invested in telling a really good story and building a good mythos and atmosphere in their games. So that's exciting for me, who
Kind of
love
on
kind of
that,
stuff.
another piece of experience I have in BioShock that I just remembered now is I read, I think it's like The Fall of Rapture or something like that, or something like. It's a book, BioShock. I think it's like Fall of Rapture or something like that. It's really good. So just about basically how Rapture became into being and how it turned into what you saw in the first game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a DLC for Infinite as well, right? It takes place before the Fall of Rapture.
Yes and no. It's not the same thing as the book, like at all. It's not even the similar.
Oh, okay.
It's still after Rapture exists. Like Infinite is before it exists, but the DLC is after Rapture exists already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just early into Rapture, and there's still that whole like Infinite theme to it as well. So it's still different in its own. It's kind of its own thing, and it's cool.
Fair enough.
I enjoyed those DLCs.
But getting back to the main game, so the first BioShock, and we can kind of go into narrative. Oh no, I don't have my bumper queued up. Well, then we can just kind of bullshit a while for a little bit before. So how are you guys? How's your day going? How's your life's going? How's
Okay.
How's
You know,
Stay a while.
when we
Rocket
didn't have
League
bumpers
season 3
before,
Stay a
set in 3
while.
days.
we just kind of like marched onwards.
Shut up! I found it.
Stay a while and listen.
There you go. It played. We're all happy now. So narrative of the game. It's what the game is really based on. It's got
Is that
a
what
really
narrative is?
good narrative.
Oh, okay. I did not get you. I know what you mean now.
It's gonna be one of those shows today, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yay.
What was I
Good
saying?
old BioShock.
But yes, BioShock narrative. Scott, tell me for the love of God.
So,
Please save this
Was
podcast.
there a story to
Was there a
BioShock?
story, and what did you think of it?
there
I thought it was
a-
all online, wasn't it?
Fuck you, Brandon. there was a story to BioShock. Is a story to BioShock, I guess. I don't know. What
Yeah,
it is.
it's told in comic books outside of the game, right? But in the main game, there's no story.
Actually,
Also,
once you
just
read it,
Comic
it
Sans
stopped
font.
existing, so
Unlike-
there was a story.
Unlike
Not anymore.
Destiny and Overwatch, the story is actually in the game, and the
Wow.
backstory is in the game.
What a novel idea.
Yeah, I'll imagine that. It is basically you play like in the first game. You play as this person who has a plane accident and finds Rapture, and you're kind of guided through by this person that you only know by like the alias of Atlas, and you're kind of just learning about all these people like that. Are well known in Rapture, like Andrew Ryan, who basically started, like, who invented Rapture.
The
Like
whole
it was
city.
his idea. Like it was.
And Rapture is an underground or an
Underwater,
underwater.
yes.
Like it was supposed to be a utopia for scientists and thinkers and stuff.
Yeah, it was
correct?
basically just like no scientist is bound by any kind of law or anything like that. Like you basically you earn.
Not just law, just like common ethics by the sounds of it.
Yeah. There was nothing. Like it was
It was
pretty much
just
like whatever
create.
your idea is, do it.
Yeah. No matter
Yeah.
what the consequences are.
Yeah, and the consequences become quite severe. Yeah, so you play it through, and then you slowly, learn that you've been misled and like all this other, kind of stuff.
Yeah. Again, spoiler warning for the show. We will be getting into pretty in depth into the stories of these games, but Yeah,
Pretty late spoiler warning.
the main character is misled by the character who had been leading them. And also, there's lots of really interesting themes in the game. Like we said, it's this kind of utopia gone wrong setting. The actual setting, like the area that you're in, is very, very cool. There's lots of basically the dissidents of the city went insane with different what was it called? Was it called splicing powers? Splicers.
Yeah, well, that's what pretty much they're the people who like are the crazy people that you're fighting through the game, and basically it's due to like atom withdrawal, I think, or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, and Atom is basically these injections that can give you different superpowers, essentially. Correct?
Well, kind of, yeah, basically, yeah. They allow you to use them. Like Atom allows you to use them, more or less.
Them
like,
being
use the superpowers.
Super.
Like the superpowers are their own thing. The Atom doesn't give it to you, but it allows you to like harness them.
It's basically your mana.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm watching the video right now, and you're like throwing bombs back at this person, and like I still remember the trailer for this game when it was coming out was awesome. It was so sick. I mean, like you're fighting this guy in like this dive suit with like a drill, and at one point like he like you try and stop his drill with your hand, like it goes through your hand. You're like, ah, fuck, and then you inject yourself with something and shoot bees out from your hand at him, and like he falls over, and then like you capture this girl. Like it was, what the fuck is this game?
The big daddy little sister.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't Norman Reedus maybe has a baby level of strange, but back in the day that was interesting to see, and the game kind of lived up to it. Like
it's great. Like especially the first one, like
yeah,
being a entirely single player game. There's so much replayability just due to like there's a lot of collectibles and like there's multiple endings.
Yes, yeah,
and there's almost no way to get the full story of it through one playthrough.
Yeah, because a lot of it is told just like environmentally or stuff you have to search out yourself.
Like you walk into like if you just activate certain things, just like walking in areas that like. That you wouldn't have necessarily gone through. You can get little bits and pieces here and there too, and like through the audio logs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And speaking to the kind of multiple endings, one of the things you're searching for throughout the game is the little sisters, which are these.
They're not hard to find.
The little sisters are basically these. Are they humans or are they developed?
They're children. Yeah, they are children, and basically they were experimented on,
mm-hmm.
and I can't remember exactly. Fuck, it's been a long time.
You don't
since
need the specific.
The book
but basically,
really
they were
goes into
experimented on, and they're basically full of this atom resource.
And they basically are able to spot dead bodies on the floor that have atom in them, and they inject they stick them with a needle and suck out the atom.
Yeah, they basically harvest atom from the different corpses
Yeah.
around. And in the course of the story, you're given the option as you encounter these little sisters to either kill them, basically,
Harvest.
and harvest their atom, which makes you stronger, or you can let them go, which gives you...
You don't let them go, you actually cure them.
You what?
You cure them.
What are they sick with?
Well, just like you basically are able to
Sickness.
reverse the effects of their experiments and turn them back into just little children.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you're... So those are your choices, right? Like, obviously, when you harvest them, you get twice as much atom.
Mm-hmm.
But when you save them, you're able to basically get bonuses from this. You get bonuses from them after you save every time you save 3 of them. That will give you they give you extra atom, and they'll give you plasmids, which are the power ups and stuff like that you would normally have had to buy or find throughout the game. But they reward them to you for saving them instead of harvesting them.
Interesting. Yeah, because I always thought the rewards they give you, is it usually more beneficial, at least in the short term, to harvest them?
Oh yeah, I mean, so basically, if you want to go for max power and If you want to go through that, you just harvest them all, and like by the time you're like halfway done the game, you're just unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because every time, so it's literally double when you harvest them. You get 80 for saving them, and 160 for harvesting them. And every
Damn.
time you get 3, they give you like I think the reward's like 200 atom, but it still doesn't equal like
No.
it still doesn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
It still doesn't balance out. So you get way more atom just by harvesting them. And I think in my gameplay, I accidentally harvested one. I never have done it before. All my gameplays have always saved them all. And I just had killed the Big Daddy, and I went to just like search him to loot him, and I hit X,
Oh,
and
no.
that harvested the little sister. And I'm like, I was like in horror. I was just like, what did I do?
Yeah,
I've never seen the animation for harvesting them before because
is it kind of like, does it get explicit, or is it just
not really. Like you kind of like it goes through this weird like psych trip thing, and then you just like pull this worm out of them basically.
damn?
Jesus.
Yeah, and then you just like I don't know. It's like not, it doesn't really show too much, but it's still like you get the idea that you just fucking destroyed this little child.
Yeah,
Demon child.
I'm just watching a cutscene from your playthrough here, and like the game is brutal. Like it gets pretty, and it deals with very interesting themes that you don't normally see. Like it kind of skirts around it, the topic, but like you're basically given the choice to kill this child, to harvest power from them. It's a really weird thing to explore in a game.
And
Not something you see very often. I mean, like Skyrim doesn't even let you kill the kids in it.
Yeah.
So
this is literally they're like, go for it.
yeah. Are you a bad person? Prove it.
And like it's really neat when you hear like the audio logs, because like there's one of them that I found, and it's like talking about this family, and they like lost their little girl like before. This is before everything, and then they said that they saw her stabbing a dead body with a needle, and then walking away hand in hand with the Big Daddy, right? Like, and
Jesus.
and basically the Big Daddies and the Rosies, there's two different kinds. Basically the Big Daddies are the ones with the drill. The Rosies have a rivet gun, so they're the ranged ones. They're more of a pain in the ass. The Big Daddies are really easy to deal with because you can just lure them into traps really easily. They just charge you.
Because they're
The
melee.
Rosies will run away and snipe you with a rivet gun, and it hurts like a fucking bitch. Because I'm playing through on hard, so it sucks. It sucks to not be prepared for a fight against the Rosie. Yeah, and the Rosies also have, like, they throw prox mines at you. Like, they're just so much harder to deal with. And, like, as you progress through the game, there's, like, they get harder and harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
But basically, who they were before this all broke out is they were the engineers.
The Rosies and the
Rosies were?
Yeah, the Rosies and the Big Daddies, they used those suits to help, like, they
Build
walked
the
around
city and stuff.
outside and build the city.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of figured that, but that's yeah. Like so, they're all protecting the little sisters after all the craziness went down.
Yeah, and I think
And,
BioShock 2 kind of goes more into the why that happened, but I never really got that far. So
Yeah, and BioShock 2 was something I wanted to touch on, and before that for BioShock 1, basically the little sisters hinge around you getting the good ending. Basically, if you save all of them, then you get like the best ending, and
Yes.
if you harvest a couple of them, then you get like kind of like a middling ending, and if you harvest all of them, you get the bad ending.
yes,
Which I believe ends up in your character's death, correct?
yeah, the bad ending. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Andrew
said,
Ryan, I think, wins actually in that one.
yeah. We're not Andrew Ryan.
Oh yeah, the other one.
It's
Whatever.
Atlas, but Fontaine.
Fontaine,
Right,
yeah.
Fontaine, yeah.
And Fontaine is the one that's using the "would you kindly" phrase to control you.
Yes.
And so, can you explain that? Were you brainwashed, or did you have some sort of relation
Yes.
to the city before
No, you were basically brainwashed and then put on a flight that was brought down intentionally to bring you to Rapture.
back to Rapture, actually?
Yeah.
And so
To kind of help Fontaine overwhelm Andrew Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah, because he and again the brainwashing lets Fontaine control your main character with the phrase "Would you kindly," which is maybe where you've seen that phrase come up in different memes and such. But then getting back to BioShock 2, it still takes place in Rapture, but with a completely different character. In this one, you take the
And
role
it
of a
takes
Big
place,
Daddy.
I think, 8 years after the events of. No, is it? It's. Is it before? It's after. Yeah, I'm pretty
It's
sure it's like
after.
8 years after or something like that. And you play as the Big Daddy, and then yeah.
Did you want to do like a very brief synopsis of the two's story? Because I honestly don't know anything about two.
I don't know too much. Like I said, I only got through about maybe a third of the game or a quarter of the game, not even a third, probably. But basically, you're this guy, you're this Big Daddy, and you're trying to.
Find your little sister.
No, you're. Yes, you're separated. You're separated with one that's like yours, but you're going through the game trying to find her because somebody takes her from you,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady takes her from you, and they introduce a new enemy, which is the Big Sister.
Yes, yeah. Which is
a
just like
pain in
this
the
like
fucking-
super atom powered like crazy bitch.
It's a Big Daddy, but that can like jump around and be a cunt bitch. So,
Yes, okay, a cunt bitch. Yes.
but it's
Hence the big sister.
yeah, but it's pretty cool. Like, playing as a Big Daddy. I was really excited for it, and my big problem with the whole game is it just becomes monotonous and repetitive so fast.
Yeah, because I feel like what carried the first game and then also BioShock Infinite was its story. Like that's really what propelled you through the game, and the actual gameplay mechanics of the whole series have kind of been, I would almost say, lacking. Like they're just enough to be serviceable, but they're not the best shooting mechanics. The powers are cool, but like they're just like they look flashy, but the effects aren't like super
In Infinite, they're a lot more
interesting
useful.
and yeah.
Yeah, they can really get you through. Like, basically, one of the strategies for beating Infinite on the hardest difficulty is use a combination of the two of them, and then it'll basically it's basically one that draws enemies towards you, and then another one that just throws them. Like you can just throw everyone off the edge. It's like I can't remember something like Undertow and something else, but you basically pull them all, like you levitate them all, and then you just fire them off the level because like you're in the sky, right? So you're constantly throwing people off the level. So basically, they tell you to use that strategy to get through the game on the hardest difficulty because it's the best way to disengage people quickly because it does take a few shots, which
To take them out normally, yeah.
which can cause you to die.
And like you said, the BioShock Infinite actually takes place in the sky.
Yes.
Its setting is completely removed from Rapture. They both take place in the same world,
Yes.
but you don't visit Rapture during the course of Infinite. At least not until the
Not
DLC.
until the DLC.
You get again, you hear things about it, like
Infinite
small things.
is also, I believe it takes place like it's built after the sky.
But yes.
No, before.
It's before.
Yes,
Okay.
it's actually built before Rapture,
Alrighty. Yeah.
which is why everything's more like all the
it's more
weapons.
colonial, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, like racism and that kind
Yes.
of is a big part of the whole game.
Infinite. Yeah.
So what did you think of the fact that it was completely removed from Rapture?
Infinite.
Yeah, did that disappoint you, or were you more excited
No,
about the
I was-
prospect of?
It was cool. I watched like trailer and stuff like that before I bought the game, and it looked really interesting. And like, at first it was kind of like, it was like this is fun, but whatever kind of thing. But I'm gonna get through the game because I want to play it because it was still like good enough to play, in my opinion. And then, but as you start to learn the story and how things like work in the game, like the whole like alternate reality basically thing to the game, it becomes really interesting and like really appeals to like science fiction.
Yeah, I've heard that they really blew it out of the water with Infinite. Like it was like there were so many layers to the story, and there was so many different like elements to it, like sci-fi, time travel, like alternate dimensions and realities. Like it was really really cool. I do want to play Infinite at some point. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it before the show, but it is something I want to go back to. Maybe not BioShock 1, definitely not 2, but I do want to play Infinite.
I have Infinite on Steam.
Yeah, you can get all of them. I think I gifted it to like my cousin at one point, and he never played it, so maybe I'll log on to his Steam account. So we've been mentioning that while the narrative of the games is really, really good, the gameplay is kind of lackluster. And you were mentioning... I mean, Scott can obviously speak to this. But from what I've heard
such good things.
Yeah, it's usually about the story of the game, but apparently the gunplay is very...
It's very chunky.
So like the actual mechanics behind the game are pretty...
Like they're serviceable, but they're nothing great.
Like there's a drastic difference between 1, 2, and Infinite. Like 1 and 2 are really, really chunky and stuff like that, but Infinite it's really like much more polished mechanically.
So they figured it out by the time Infinite came.
Yeah. It's a lot smoother, and like the gunplay's a lot better in Infinite than it was, and like even the abilities and stuff like that. And it has a kind of a similar mechanics to Mass Effect in a way, whereas it's the wheels, like the power wheel and the gun wheel pop up. Like if you're playing on a controller, you hold like right bumper and it'll pop up all your guns, and you select that way, or you can just cycle through them, but it's a lot slower. Yep. When you have especially because you can hold like 6 or 7 different weapons at a time, even in the first game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like there's a pistol, a machine gun, a shotgun, a grenade launcher.
I am actually curious as to the weapon variety in the game. What was it? Was the 6 weapons like it, or were there more than the 6 weapons?
There was pretty much it, but there was 3 different bullet types for each weapon. So, for example, the pistol had its regular rounds, and then it had armor-piercing rounds, and then it had like anti-personnel rounds.
Okay.
So to use in different situations. So when you're facing lots of fleshy people, use the anti-personnel rounds to dispatch them quicker, and it becomes much more relevant later in the game. The first few levels of the game doesn't matter too much. You can kind of save all your extra ammo that you're getting for the different rounds. But especially once you start facing big daddies and stuff like that, you're gonna want to have your armor-piercing rounds and like your exploding buckshot and stuff like that like ready to deal with them, because the faster you can kill them, the better.
So is ammo really scarce? Is it hard to come by these?
The special rounds? Yeah. Yes and no. I will say that it is, because you don't find very many. But it is easy enough to find enough money to buy them.
Oh, okay. So they are readily available.
Yes. So there's that, but then you're also spending money on ammo, where most of the time you want to make sure you're stocked on med packs, so you kind of got to choose. Most of the time I just go with survivability, so I'll always buy like Eve hypos and med packs instead of ammo, because I can make do with whatever ammo I have. If I'm out of med packs, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's like an achievement on the game for not using Vita Chambers, which is basically the game's respawn system.
Oh.
And if you disable them, it basically will send you back to the last checkpoint, and the checkpoints are like, few and far between. They're not exactly close.
So kind of like Dead Space on the hardest difficulty.
Kind of, not as unforgiving, but yes, similar.
I feel like that kind of mechanic is a lot like Metro 2033.
With
like just with the ammo and med packs and stuff like that, like how you have ammo or how you have money, but you don't really you kind of have to use it wisely.
You got to choose, right? Like you kind of
whether you go med packs or whether you go like better ammo.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to deal with currency, because in most games, like eventually you just get so much money that it doesn't matter. And like they need like the big currency sinks, but you eventually get past those, and then you have millions of dollars again. Yeah. Whereas with this system, like you get to choose, like, do I want to use it to buy something later, or do I need to deal with something immediately? Like, It's really, really interesting system. Briefly before we move on from the ammo and stuff, do you actually have to switch the ammunition types, or do
Yes.
you just click a button? You actually have to like unload your gun and reload it.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. All right.
You actually every time you switch ammos, you have to like change the drum or change the mag and reload. So it takes time. So you have to be ready when you're going into a fight.
That's cool. I really enjoy that.
Another thing mechanically that we haven't talked on is the hacking system.
Yeah, I noticed some gameplay of it.
The pipes.
Yeah, I was a little
The
confused by
plumbing.
that.
Yeah, so that's the BioShock 1's hacking system.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's also the system in 2. In Infinite, it's different. But basically, it's gauged on the difficulty, and if it's like higher difficulty ones, the flow goes quicker, and you'll see me fail a couple of them because the harder ones, sometimes you just don't find the piece you need quick enough, and then, or you because like the harder ones have alarms, and they have like exploding pieces on them, and if you hit them, it does more. So basically, when you fail a hack, you do damage to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail a hack and hit an alarm, you'll have to fend off some sentry bots, and they can shred you apart really quickly. And you also have to use ammo to kill them, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. But and if you hit the explosive ones, it obviously does way more damage to you. So basically, you want to find your way. You need to navigate your way through this plumbing system, finding all the right pieces quick enough to be able to build the circuit from start to end. Infinite definitely they definitely changed it, where they did it was basically like a needle that bounced back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You had to hit it in the right, like basically there was like red, yellow, and green, and if you had to hit it in the green to do the hack properly, kind of thing, and if you hit it in the red, it could like set off an alarm, or it just hurts you, and if you hit it in the yellow, it just hurts you less, kind of thing. So they changed it from there, and I think it was a little easier to do in Infinite because
with those hacking minigames, it's always something I've been curious about. I mean, in the first one, like you were saying, I kind of appreciate the fact that if you mess up, it cost you resources that you really needed.
Yeah.
And they did it like it wasn't just like, oh, you lost this much of whatever. It was you have to fight now, and fighting you want to try and avoid because it makes you use up resources. But I've always wondered like what really is the point of those kind of mini games. Like I mean, taking Mass Effect series for example. I mean, in the first one you have this like weird like jump through the hoops kind of mini game.
Yeah.
And like it's not super fun, but it's kind of quick and simple. And I guess they introduced it kind of to break up the monotony and get you more into the world because like yes, I'm hacking this thing. It's a stupid mini game, but I'm hacking it.
Well,
and then in the second one, they actually introduced something like more thematic, where you have to like move like different circuits or look for different pieces of code, which I actually really really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But then in the third one, they just got rid of it. Like to hack things, you just like hold space, you do a thing, and you're done. And on the one hand, I kind of missed the thematic elements of it, of just like, especially in 2, where it was like again the circuits or the coding
find
stuff,
the code and stuff like that. Yeah.
but also like it was really boring at times, especially when you're just like I've done 3 of these in a row and they're all just the same shit.
I think in BioShock it's a little bit more useful because of how like I don't want to say scarce, but especially early game, it's more useful early game. Like especially, like you'll see me do it. Like I do it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I pretty much hack everything. Because when you hack, so basically the things you can hack, there's like drones that fly around that follow you. There is the turrets that you can hack that you can turn onto your side. There's security cameras that you can turn onto your side. And then you can hack all the vending machines, and you can hack the health stations. And the health stations is really neat because the enemies will use the health stations.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
So they'll run away from you and heal, and
That's
then
pretty
come
cool.
back and fight you. But if you hack it, it shoots out a poison gas at them. So it's a really good strategy to kind of like have like, and if you destroy the health stations, they'll drop med kits. So pretty much you go around, like you canvas an area, you bash all of them, you save like maybe 1 or 2 of them, and you just hack those 2 health stations, and that way it costs you less to heal, and it also poisons enemies. So then you don't have to worry about them running away and healing and coming back. Because some of the enemies are a pain in the ass to fight, especially the ones that like crawl on the walls and stuff like that, which you don't get to see too much because they aren't introduced until a little bit later. But they have a lot of health and they're a pain in the ass to kill. They're almost harder to kill than Big Daddies because of how fast they move. It's really like I find it really useful when you hack the vending machines, like the ammo machines, or even just the general vending machines. It makes everything cheaper, and it unlocks extra things that you wouldn't have had access to at that vending machine if you didn't hack it. So basically, you'll have like the standard like pistol rounds, health med kits, but then you'll unlock buy this special ammo or buy this like auto hack tool or something like that.
Yeah, it is nice when those kind of like hacking mini games are useful, but it sucks when they're just like these kind of like simple mini games, especially when you have to do them multiple times like through the course of the game.
But it doesn't. It only takes it takes less than a minute to do them most of the time. You're just clicking on random boxes and making. Did you find
that they got boring, or was it just like a nice break from the shooting?
I found it not that it gets boring. Like if it gets boring, then just don't do it. Like it's avoidable. You don't have to do it, right?
That's good.
So if you don't,
did you find that they were too easy?
No, they're like obviously in the early game they're easy because they're introducing it to you and they want you to become more comfortable with it. But it gets harder, and you can get stuff like upgrades and stuff that dumb it down to help you throughout the game to make it easier. But sometimes it can't be avoided, and you're like hacking a safe, and it's full on difficult. Like the needles all the way to the right, all the way in the red. And literally, the second you start the hack, the flow starts going. So you have to you almost have to get lucky sometimes. And if you know me at all, it doesn't work very well.
It's not luck is not in your side.
And the cool thing is if you fail, it's not the same circuit. So if you fail, it'll wipe.
Oh, they'll re-randomize. They'll randomize
it'll randomize where all the tubes are. So you can't memorize it either.
That's good.
So it kind of and like I said, I mean honestly, if it gets too boring, just blow up the turrets, just ignore the sentry bots, and just don't hack the vending machines.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to do it to get through the game. It helps you, especially early game, to kind of give you, you can save a bit more money by buying health packs. You can use the sentry turrets and the turrets to take out enemies for you, so you don't have to use your ammo or your plasmids on them. But like once you get to a certain point in most games, you just get to this point where you just have so many resources that you don't need to do all the extra stuff anymore, and then you don't have to do it. So that's kind of what I liked about it, is you can kind of pick and choose.
Yeah, when speaking of hacking minigames, my favorite one has to be from Deus Ex Human Revolution, because that one actually it was tense. It was different, but there was enough systems and mechanics in it that kind of made it feel like its own kind of fleshed out mini game, as opposed to just like, jump through the hoops.
Never played Deus Ex, but
I would recommend it.
What was the hacking system?
Basically, it gave you just like this mini map of like different servers on the network, and there was one that was like the antivirus or whatever anti-hacking module. And the rest, which could be either what you wanted in the first place, or ways to get extra credits, or different, or unlock different doors or whatever. And if you started hacking one, then it started a timer of the antivirus trying to get to you, and it would have to work through other servers to get to where you started from. So you could either use that time, and it's all real time. So you either use your time to barricade yourself against the antivirus server, or hack into the place that you want to get, or hack into the bonus ones that you want to get. So it was kind of strategic. It was all very quick, and you had to think on your feet a lot of the time, which I found very, very fun. And it felt like hacking. Like it was thematic enough that you were like, yeah, I'm actually breaking into this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't feel like hacking in BioShock, but it's a fun little thing. It doesn't take a long time, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it.
That's good. So between the three games, were there any major mechanical differences? I know There was different in the first two games. There was plasmids, and the second game you were a big daddy, so you were much tougher than you were in the other games.
You still
And then in
had
three-
plasmids though.
In 3?
No, in 2.
Yes, yeah. But
In
then in 3
Infinite,
they
you
got
still
rid
had
of it.
plasmids.
It wasn't under a different name.
I think so, but it was the same.
Essentially the same idea.
It was the same thing. It was shoot fire out of your hand, shoot electricity out of your hand.
Shoot birds and bees out of your hand. Yeah.
Bees?
bees.
Bees.
Yeah. But yeah,
That joke.
it was
will never
ultimately
die.
the same system. They may have called it by a different name, and I mean they replaced Big Daddies in Infinite by another enemy that I can't remember what it's called.
Engineers,
but-
I think they were called.
No,
Patriots, no.
Patriots was one of them. That's not what replaced the Big Daddies. It was something else. It was a really huge guy that jumped around, and I can't remember what they were called. But anyway, ultimately it was the same game across all three. Slightly different gameplay. You know, but 2 was the slowest because even just movement wise, you were a Big Daddy,
Yeah.
so you were slow. So, and I think in Infinite they may have introduced a sprint, or no, they had the grapple hook,
Yes.
which was awesome.
Yeah, because the game takes place in the sky, you're basically
Yeah.
in a floating city made out of like
Sky
balloons
hub.
and stuff. There was like rails that went to all the different parts of the city, and you can like grab on and like you actually did combat while you were on the grappling hooks, which was
Yeah.
really really cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
Alrighty. Well, our usual third segment, community, and if I can bring up the sound clip.
Need a light.
There you go, sound clips for everybody. The community, and it's kind of a waste because there isn't much of a community around this game. The games have come in, they came and left. People were really excited about the first one, not so much on the second, and then again, huge amount of hype for the third, and it kind of lived up to it. But it's kind of dead. The developer, the main creative producer of the game, left the studio that he was working with to make smaller games with a smaller team. I don't think we've seen any of his latest projects. He's still working on whatever it is he's working on. But the BioShock series is mostly dead
Yeah.
for now. I don't think there are any plans to make another one. And it's
I'm kind of happy where it is.
Yeah, I think it left on a good note. Like, there's no need to keep continuing something if there's nothing else to be gained from it. Like at this point,
Especially
they
with like multiplayer being kind of like the way of gaming now, right? And they tried multiplayer in 2 and it failed miserably.
I mean,
And,
lots of
they took-
games don't have multiplayer. But again, you're.
But
right,
I mean,
lots of
it's
games
especially like a studio that's publishing like 2K, right? So they're going to want to put out games that are going to appeal to the mass, and the mass mostly is interested in multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. There was a bit of like controversy about Infinite when it was coming out because while BioShock was known as being this like very story-driven game with lots of deep and interesting themes, the box art for 3 was very similar to other games that were coming out at the time, like the more action-oriented. Call of Duty, Mass Effect, Battlefield all had dudes on the front walking towards the camera, not looking quite at it with guns. And BioShock did the same thing. They had the main character not looking quite at the camera with a gun walking towards in the cover, and the main creative lead on the project basically said to people, like, because people were complaining, like, hey, this isn't what BioShock's about. It's about a story, not action. He's like, listen, this game is still about that, but that doesn't sell to Call of Duty bro dudes. This might make them play it and love it, and they might love it. So it's interesting that the game kind of, this story-driven game did quite well, and that might be because of they tried to go after those people who typically wouldn't play a story-driven game.
I have 2 points to bring up for the community section. Yay me.
Sure.
I know, right? There were for quite a while talks about doing a film for BioShock.
Awesome.
But essentially, the film Watchmen did not perform as well as they expected, so they didn't think doing another kind of gritty movie would do well. And so
Fair
they
enough.
cut the budget, and then the director didn't want to do it at that budget, and then he left. And So they
development
eventually
hell
just
and-
said like it's not going to work out for.
That would have been cool based on the first one.
Yeah, I think Rapture lends itself fairly well to a movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like because it's got such a good story, like it lends itself well to any media. But I feel like there's something to be gained in the interactive elements of the game. The fact that you are the one making these choices, and the games have always been about your choice, what to do with these fairly major moral dilemmas. So I feel like leaving it as a video game is probably the best way to go. Yes, you could explore different elements of the
Book.
mythos and like the book. Like you can explore different elements of it, but I think the core themes of the whole BioShock series has been about your choices
Fair
and
enough.
difficult moral dilemmas. So don't know if it's super necessary.
Fair enough. I mean, it would have been cool, but yeah.
Yeah, because again, it has a really cool world.
Yeah. The next thing is I found a interesting list on Wikipedia, and it's video games considered the best. And they essentially took a bunch of different people's like top 100, top 10 picks of games and just compiled them together, and it's like what games appear on here the most. BioShock appears on there quite a few times. And so it's one of the games considered one of the best games.
And it's all because of the story. The stories are just really, really good interactive pieces of media.
It is.
It doesn't matter if the gameplay is kind of like, okay, whatever, because the themes they explore you don't see in most of their games. Like in the first one, you're like, do you kill this kid or not? And like you actually get like resource. It's pretty stark, but like do you kill this person for resources or do you let them go for less? And there's the big twist of like you're actually being mind controlled and the whole thing of like you're just following this person's orders because that's the objective of the game, but actually it was this person that's controlling you, so it gave this like interesting overtones to how you play games. And then the third one, they deal with racism and segregation and like all this other cool stuff. There's more themes, but I've forgotten.
Kind of a fond memory of the game. So I was playing through last time I was playing through BioShock 1. I was playing through it, and you encounter this guy who wants you to basically kill people and take photographs of them.
Sounds reasonable, yeah.
And because you get a camera, and basically the way the camera works is you photograph the enemies, and as you photograph them, you like learn abilities to kill them better, and you do more damage to them and stuff like that. So it's beneficial every time you see an enemy.
Anatomy 101.
Pull out your camera first, take a picture, then kill them. Or take a couple pictures, because you can take, I think, up to 3 pictures of the same enemy before you don't get any more, like, experience.
I think, did Dead Rising have a similar system where if you take pictures...
Sort of, but not to where it would help you like that.
Okay.
Did Pokemon Snap have a similar system?
I don't think so.
Take enough pictures of Pokemon, you can kill them faster.
Well, pester them faster.
Also, side note, we need a Pokemon Snap 2. On the Wii U, that would have been perfect. What the
on the
fuck?
3DS.
We don't.
On the 3DS would have been great too. I hope on the
Pokemon
NX.
Go DLC.
Oh.
There you go.
But yeah, so fond memory. So basically, you do that, and then you encounter him later in the game, and you don't necessarily have to encounter him. You encounter him if you explore, right? And so you find his actual like apartment.
His
And
lair.
you go into it, and you're fighting, and then you have to fight him, and then if you take a picture of his dead body, you get an achievement for it. And like I did it entirely by accident, right? I was like, "How do you fucking like it, bitch?" And then I got an achievement for it. And I was just like, "This is the best." I love that this is the thing in this game.
That's awesome.
Like it was entirely just like coincidental. Like I was just like,
Someone playtested that.
"Oh yeah, I bet it was awesome."
Alrighty. Well, I think we know Scott's opinion of the game. But what about the rest of you? Would you guys be interested in playing this series after having our discussion? Like, is it something that interests you, or just like, okay, that's cool, but really not for me? Brandon, we'll start with you.
I mean, I don't know. It was never really my thing, BioShock. I did like slightly play a little bit of it, but I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
And I probably won't, to be honest.
Taylor, what about
Control
you?
the person.
Well, I think I'm a more hardened individual now. Instead of pink fuzzy slippers, I have black fuzzy slippers, and I wouldn't go out of my way to play BioShock, but I definitely try more, harder, faster, better,
Stronger.
Not stronger, no. But essentially, when I stopped playing, the exact moment I stopped playing was
I know. I already know.
there was a shotgun on the floor.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
the lights.
oh, okay, I'm gonna walk over and pick that up. And then the lights go out, and then something starts screaming at me, and I'm like, oh, that was a fun game. That was
Nope.
This was like it was just like my first time through Dead Space. Like I would walk in a room, all the lights would turn off. I'm like, yep, save and quit.
Yep, I'm done.
Save it for another day.
GG game.
Future Scott's
GG.
gonna hit me.
It's too dark outside. I can't play this at night. Save and quit.
It's so funny. Like, I absolutely hate horror movies. I will not watch a horror movie. And if it happens to come on, like, back when I had cable, if it happened to come up on TV, like, I would watch with morbid fascination, like, because I just couldn't turn away. And then I just have nightmares for the next, like, 3 weeks. But for some reason, horror video games don't bother me as much. Like, I've played the Resident Evil games, which aren't super, super scary. But I also played the Dead Space games. I played Fear. I've played, what's that?
Amnesia?
Outcast. I played Outcast, granted, in a room full of dudes, but like they don't bother me quite as much. I don't know what it is.
Outcast doesn't sound scary.
Outcast
Outlast.
is pretty scary, but
Yeah,
Outlast.
it's called Outlast.
Whatever.
not
What-
Outcast.
Outcast is Wilson. Wilson. Tom Hanks.
It's a rapper actually. Is it?
Hey, yeah.
But yeah. So Scott, you love the series here. Happy with it?
Yeah. I mean, I love the first one, and I love. And Infinite was a lot of fun. And second one, I probably will never pick up ever again.
Fair enough.
If he sees it on the floor, it's gonna stay
It's
there.
gonna
He's not
stay
picking that
right
up.
on the floor. I won't touch it. I can't. Like, I have like a 6-foot restraining order on the game. I can't actually get near it, or it's not allowed to get near me.
As for myself, yeah, it's kind of weird because I love story games like that. That's one of my favorite things about video games is the interacting with a piece of media and a story. But I also really enjoy mechanics in games and the different interactions there just to keep me entertained. That's why I loved Mass Effect, because it had that really good story, but also it was a fun game. But I feel like I owe it to myself to try out BioShock because, like, again, it's widely regarded as one of the best video games ever, and it's almost purely because of its story. So I'm going to try and play it at some
I own
point.
it on the 360 and on Steam, Jacob.
As soon as they take Overwatch off my computer,
I'll do it. Don't worry.
as soon as my doctor says stop playing Overwatch or cut off your wrists, I don't know how much.
I highly recommend if you ever play BioShock on the computer to use a controller. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
really?
And with
It's
the
a
lights
first-person shooter.
Yeah, definitely with the lights on.
Oh yeah,
It's a
definitely.
first-person shooter, but the way the mechanics are, I feel like it's too like your hands are gonna be all over the place trying to do
If you're
keyboard.
trying to
and
get all the
mouse.
buttons, I'll be fine.
You have to press enter and numpad enter at the same time.
It's
It's weird.
crazy. No, I don't know. Controller's just easier.
No, the only games I play with a controller are third-person action games. I can't aim. I can't aim with a controller in first person. It's just
Saying you can
hate
aim
it.
with a mouse and keyboard.
Hey, listen.
Oh,
when
I
I
should
play
play
Diva
Overwatch.
and I have unlimited shotguns to shoot at people, I aim great.
At least one bullet will
Play
hit them.
Overwatch. Oh,
Alrighty, guys. I gotta go play Overwatch before I have to go to bed. So, with that, we'll wrap up the show. If you like what you see here, subscribe. We're on YouTube. You can subscribe there. Give us a like. We're on Twitch at press_A_2_podcast. Please follow, subscribe, whatever you want. Join us in chat. We're usually live every other week. The schedule's kind of gotten wonky recently. It's kind of been harder to find games that all of us have played or have an interest in, but we'll try and stick to that every 2 week schedule. And in the meantime, we'll do some streams. Probably Overwatch, but maybe Heroes. I want to get back into Heroes. Apparently, that game's gotten much, much better with the anniversary. If you want updates on the show, you can follow us on Twitter at PressA2Podcast. And you can also email us any of your comments, questions, concerns, opinions on the games we've covered, or what you'd like to see us cover. And you can send those emails to pressapodcast@gmail.com. We also have a sister show to this, which is Overtime, an Overwatch podcast. If you search that, an Overwatch and Overtime podcast, you will find us. We're on we're on iTunes. Same with this show is also on iTunes. So if you want to listen to us there, give us a like or give us a rating, subscribe. That would be wonderful. But that wraps us up. We'll see you on episode 30. Thank you, Taylor. And on behalf of Brandon, Scott, Taylor, and myself, have fun and good luck.
The next Resident Evil game actually looks really good.